Hold on, it's being weird on my end. Right. Uh,
There we go.
there we go. Yeah, it took a little bit. Sometimes you have to give it like a minute at least because sometimes it wants to lag, or like just now, it was taking forever to load up on the screen for some reason. I hadn't had to do that before, so sorry about that, folks. Good evening, everyone, and happy Friday. It is finally the mother loving weekend. I'm glad. Uh, I got my pal Chubby Funster here with me once again. Going to show off some of his work. Got that new tabletop frontline released. Little logo, thanks to Patty's Parlor right there. And if you don't know what we're going to be talking about today, allow me to play this little clip that I made. I don't know if you saw the clip yet, Patty, but I had this made just for this occasion.
Oh, yes. I love you, Edward.
And I love you, Bella. Hold on. Who is it?
Oh, you know. A real fucking vampire.
Wow, that was awesome.
So that is Helsing Ultimate Abridged by Team 4-Star. And as soon as I started thinking about Shadow City and was making the outline, that's where the real fucking vampires thing title came from, was that clip right there. And I'm like, I had to do it.
I'd love to believe that I could take a significant market share from Vampire the Masquerade, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Well, I guess because all my buddies like to usually ask this question, so I figured I might as well do it. Did you do any gaming this week?
Yes. I have a Saturday night group that I run every week, and we've been running Gods of the Forbidden North. And it's fantastic. Fantastic campaign setting. And we had been running it with my Ambition and Avarice chassis, but it's getting to where they're like level 2 and 3 now, and the conversion load is really is getting to be a pain in my ass. So we're gonna be migrating back to OSE to make sure that it's easy. As I don't, the power levels are slightly different, so I don't want to be constantly adjusting every encounter to be more appropriate, whatever. So we're going back to OSE, but it's going to be fun. I think there's going to be a lot more deaths because Ambition and Avarice is a tougher system in terms of like more robust characters. So they said they're feeling a little frail going into OSE, but last week they nearly froze to death. I had them start at the end of fall, and the seasons are really brutal. I mean, this is like Greenland level of climate, and they were having to make paralysis checks every hour in order to not lose a hypothermia rating. And then if you get to like just a 3 or 4, you're starting to get confused and peeing your pants because you can't control your bodily functions anymore and all this stuff. And so they barely made it back to one of the towns. And they were like, okay, we're just going to rest for 2 months and just pay. We're just going to pay whatever they want for the inn to stay there. We're going to stay there for 2 months, I think it is. I had them pay it off. And yeah, it was great. I liked them getting to the point where they had to take the climate serious enough that it changed their behavior. Like their behavior was significantly impacted. Like we just can't keep walking around. And I mean, in real life, you're not going around in negative 10-degree weather. Like, let's take a 4-day hike in furs and leather. Like you're not even wearing like a real parka.
So Chubby, I was in the Boy Scouts.
Yep.
there's a camping trip that happens every January in Norman, Kansas called Trapper's Rendezvous, where a bunch of scout troops will come together and they'll have like people dressed up as like mountain men, and they'll have like black powder shooting, tomahawk throwing, and they'll actually sell like furs and all stuff. But also people will just bring bags of stuff together. They'll come trade. Sometimes the weather got down to -4 degrees during that camping on those nights. And so like my troop, we would actually like go through and make sure we had all the stuff we needed. And I remember what was I just thinking about? There was something about it I had in mind, and now it just slipped my head.
No worries.
So,
Yeah,
but yeah,
it's rough out there when it's that like just getting from one place to like 2 miles away.
I remember what it is now. They would have a long john run in this weather, so you're wearing just like your long johns and your boots, and you're doing like a 1/4 mile run in the cold.
No, thank you. I live in Georgia where it's over 80 degrees for 6 months straight, and it's like there's no way I'm gonna be heading up there. Ooh, that's too cold for me.
Well, here in the state of Arkansas, summer doesn't start till like late July, early August, so the weather's just now kind of kicking in, and school just started. And I'm not going to say because we're live now, but I told you earlier where I work, and we got all the holiday stuff now. It's already coming down the lines, so because Halloween's around the corner already. So
brutal.
Yeah. So I did not get any gaming in myself this week just because of work and tiredness and all that. But I did, however, got a couple goodies in today.
Oh.
Some of the few things I've ordered from a while back. So first thing I got, and I've had my eye on this for a while, was When Black Roses Bloom for part of the Ravenloft set. So where your Lord Sloth gets sucked into that world there. And then this one I've also had my eye on for a while. It's called Warriors of the Red Planet, which is basically like John Carter White Box.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and it's got the Ascending armor class and the Thaco armor classes as well, so you can play either or. Now this one I've actually had for a while, and I will be gaming this tomorrow evening because for those who don't know, one of the big games I've been playing recently is Barrows of Borderlands, which is basically science fantasy 0E. And so I'm going to try to. This game I'm running is going to be part of like my trial run to be a referee on that server because there's like multiple referees for like the big world that we play in, and I decided I figure out I'm going to go all out.
Oh man, Tube of Horrors. It's brutal. It's brutal. Make sure you have plenty of backup characters.
I told them at least make 3 to 4 max level characters.
That's brutal. Yeah, we were running Gods of the Forbidden North. They went into a dungeon, the first dungeon. I mean, like it's the level 1 character dungeon, and they had 2 guys die. They came back out, and those guys rolled up new characters, and I had a pretty contrived shipwreck that brought in 2 new characters that just washed ashore because they were quite a ways from civilization. So I didn't want them. I didn't want them to have to take a 3-day hike back with missing 2 characters. But I had the new characters come ashore. They went back in the dungeon, and those same new characters, they just died both of them died again. So those players went through. They had to roll up a 3rd character, and I had made them go back to town to get the new character. But man, it's brutal. Some of these, you play an old game and. It's like, okay, well, you are standing in the wrong place, and you are now dead.
Yeah. I need to see if I can. I think Lord Mattias is like actual friends with the guy who made that, so I need to talk to him about trying to see if I can get the guy on here because everyone keeps talking about how good Gods of Forbidden North is. I'm like, okay, I need to get this guy on here and see if he can sell me on it. Then
so his name is Rob Alderman, and he's working on the 3rd volume right now. It's a 3-volume set. The first one is the Overland hex crawl element. The second volume is all of the Underdark that's underneath this entire peninsula, and it's extensive. So there's like a huge lake, and the lake connects to the So like the lake is one of the ways up and down from this Underdark area, and then there's all these different things that are going on underground. There's underground city and all this stuff. And then the 3rd volume that he's writing now is the massive mega dungeon at the far side of the lake. I don't know if my guys are going to survive long enough to get to this mega dungeon. But yeah, it's brutal. It's brutal, man. It's designed for old school essentials.
Yep. So, as you all, again, showing about what we're talking about today, Chubby here has a new Kickstarter out. And I think it's safe to say I find myself in quite the fan of Mr. Funster's work. I think I've said I got everything but the GM companion and then like a hard copy of like Your Ambitions and Avarice game. Though I do have the PDF for that
Well,
because
yeah,
you had it on sale that
Ambition
one
and Avarice
time.
is like
So
400 pages, so you
yeah,
you might need extra backpack to carry it.
yeah. One thing though that I'm not usually a fan of though is extensive lore and unnecessary like political and like intriguing gaming, which is what my issue always was when it came to World of Darkness. And I think I've mostly have made this commonly known. And if you watched me on Patty's stream that was on Sunday, I brought this up as well. And even like because Chubb here's been making the rounds. Like you were on Crispy's show last night.
Yeah.
You were on Patty on Sunday. You did Lord Mattias, I think, on that Friday, I think, too, right?
That was
So-
a week before that, but yes,
Week
I
before.
was on.
Oh, no,
Lord
in
Matthew's
Yeah, week
with
before.
Gary.
Yeah, so you've just been making your rounds all over the place. So, like, a lot of my points are going to be very repetitive, so I apologize to that,
Okay.
folks. But,
We'll try to add new dimensions.
and so, I did try once. I apologize, but if you've heard the story before, but I'm going to share it because it ties into what we're talking about. I tried to get into World of Darkness first by Wraith the Oblivion. Because in Wraith the Oblivion, you die. But now all of a sudden you're suddenly but you're back to life in this like weird like ghost-like states, and now you go back out into the living world and you're interacting in your ghost-like states, and you're seeing like a whole other side of stuff before. And on paper, it sounded really awesome. That's what got me hooked, wanted me to learn it. I even found the 20th anniversary PDF book, and I was kind of reading through that a little bit. And I got into an online game, and it fell apart after 2 sessions because no one knew how to play the shadows, at least not correctly.
That's been my main. It's not really hard criticism. It's just the setting is very, very compelling. I like reading the books. I like doing the stuff. The gameplay that gets generated by the system just isn't to my taste, and I really like playing old school games that are much faster and more focused on the location rather than characters. Like if you go, we make jokes like old school. You play old school game and you don't even name your character at first level because you don't know if they're going to make it to second level. Like the focus is not on what's the personality of your fighter. What are all the emotions that your cleric is having. The focus is on the problem at hand, that there's a serious thing you have to deal with, a dungeon or whatever. And I wanted to bring that level to Vampire. I wanted it to be that the main focus was not on agonizing over you being undead. That's a very, very small amount. Like if you are upset about being undead, it's just because of the demands that's being placed on you by all the things you have to deal with that you weren't having to deal with as a human. It's not like existential angst and inner dread or sorrow or something like that. These characters have real pressing problems right now with other people, with the police, with everything. Oh, hey, DM Blackwall, what's going on?
Hey, Todd.
So the game just goes and plays and feels a different way than Vampire the Masquerade, big time.
Yeah, and so I do say this, and this is kind of a hot take on my part. The one game I think White Wolf did right in regards to that whole World of Darkness series was First Edition Hunt of the Reckoning. It does have you do some kind of I guess in regards to quote unquote character development, you explore some stuff with your character, but the majority is you're this kind of hunter, you're going out and you're taking care of business, basically. It's kind of it's very much like how when Supernatural was first on air, like the Sam and Dean were going out and they were killing, and they still had their own issues they were trying to work through. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, get it together. We got to take down this beast, kind of deal. That's what the First Edition Hunt of the Reckoning felt like to me when I read through it.
I've
And
heard about 10 to 15 people tell me, um, maybe 5 or 6 before I even started doing the kind of promotional tour. But while I've been on it, like a lot of people have said that Hunters Hunted is another book that gets brought up in addition to the Reckoning, and they really like it. I think the reason why they like that the most, maybe same applies to you, is that you have a job, you have a task, and you're focused on that task. And in the way that the other World of Darkness books play, you're focused more on the personalities of the characters and the NPCs and things like that, and making those people interact together, not accomplishing a goal. Like we have a very clear goal here. We have to control this territory. If we don't control this neighborhood, then we won't get enough blood to make it as vampire, right? Like we have to have our own territory. Like if you're playing a game where you were wolves and you had to control a certain amount of territory in order to get enough meat, like that's what it's like to be a predator. And so the pressures in the game, the things that are mechanical that you have to grapple with, are all about like just this constant pressure of you need territory, you need the blood. How are you going to get it? You have a limited amount of time. There are enemies that want what you have, and that's a really strong pressure. Like if you don't do this, somebody else is going to come and take you out.
yeah, so just to kind of set that record straight there really quick before we continue, like, so Hunter the Reckoning, first edition, I did like that reading through it. Otherwise, for the most part, Worlds of Darkness, not really my cup of tea the way it's designed. However, though, the idea of being able to play like the vampire, the werewolf, heck, if you want to go mage, changeling, demon, all mummy, even if you want to go that far, I mean, there's still some intrigue to that. Like, I'm working on it's for Bears of Borderlands. Have you ever seen a movie called The Velocipaster?
No, but that
It
is
is.
an interesting name.
It is on Tubi, so you can watch it for free. But it's this very low budget movie that's what made it. It's about this pastor that gets sucked into this weird, like, almost triad type plot, and he gets this stone, and he basically becomes like a were-raptor. But it's one of those blow up T-Rex costumes is what he turns into,
Wow.
though. It's that low budget. So a character I'm working on is the Velocicleric for Barrows in Borderlands. So I got to run that by Matt to figure out how that would work. So I'm not making him too OP, but that's an idea of what I had. Like, you have like literally the part of the thumbnail was that if you didn't recognize that background, that was from the Underworld movie. I just changed it to where it was more red to reflect kind of like that ShadowCity cover.
Yeah.
Is why I did Underworld. And Underworld is a great series too. I loved it. I've seen all the movies.
I love those movies. Yeah. They get to, like, I can't remember the plot of the second or third one or whatever, but the original one that came out, it was very much like these people. They're not best buddies. They're vampires, but they're at odds with each other. Hey, Ginger.
We got a Harmony Ginger in the chat. I don't think I've ever seen her in there before, so I was glad to see you stop by.
Yeah.
Did you go on her show to talk about Shadow City or no?
I did go on.
I cannot keep up with how many people because I feel like I pull up YouTube or I pulled up Rumble and there you were. Matthew, who's the creator of Bears of Borderlands, it's kind of been the same thing with him now that people have been talking about his game because I'm playing it. Foxoff RPG's been playing it, who does a lot of different reviews as well. And did you do Foxoff or Dungeon Dyslexia? It was one of those two, I think.
Dungeons and Dyslexia. I talked to Foxoff. I think we're going to do a recorded one, and then he's going to drop it at a certain time. There's kind of some scheduling issues.
Oh, yeah, because he's from the other side of the pond, as I like to call it. So, yeah, good dude, though. I talk to him all the time, and we've even gamed together on a handful of times. So, oh, no, you're perfectly fine, Harmony. Make sure that... Oh, didn't update on my thing. She commented she didn't mean to derail. You didn't, Harmony. You're perfectly fine. So, when I think as soon as I saw your I think it was just the landscape image of the like the black and the
Yep.
red and blue, red, black, blue kind of purplish color
Yeah.
with Shadow City, like blood and neon. I saw that and I'm just like, I'm getting that basically.
Well, that was an image that I've had for a while. It's a stock image that I bought for something that I ended up not developing, and I had it sitting around for like 5 years on my just in my graphic design folder. And when I started working on this, the actual image is not those colors. I added all these Photoshop layers to make it the colors that it is, and so it's just a really cool like blend of my desires plus the stock the stock photo, but like it comes out really cool. Like it just has that like charge to it. You want to go back to the 80s and have fun.
So I guess explain to me then what kind of made besides you kind of mentioned we were talking about the whole world of darkness thing, but just kind of a little more detail on what I can't think of the way to word the question. What gave you that push to want to make Shadow City?
Well, I was finishing up the GM Companion, which was back in it was probably January, February, and because the GM Companion came out in March, and there's a part of Shadowdark, and then there's it. You know, I'm replicating it in the GM Companion of creating districts for towns in Shadowdark using you roll the dice on the table and then you draw the districts around the dice. And I was like, okay, well, I have to come up with a bunch of different alternatives because part of the whole shtick of a lot of my work is I'm making extra tables to go on top of Kelsey's tables that are already in Shadowdark, right? So I'm trying to come up with all these new districts, new buildings to go in the districts, and all this stuff. And in the middle of doing that, I had kind of like a epiphany that you could use this method to create cities in a modern setting, not just in Shadowdark. And as soon as I realized that, my brain just started building out all the other things that is in the game now. Like all the solutions, all the way to do the node mapping to draw the buildings, and the way to randomly generate everything. And I had been looking for these kind of solutions for a while. I'd had various ideas over the years for different vampire games, but I could never make it work. You could like a lot of times you'll come up with two cool ideas, but you don't have the rest of the framework, and it just doesn't it's like, is this just going to be a house rule that I do or whatever? But the making things randomly using the method from Shadowdark really kickstarted all the ideas in my head, just blew them out, and I had 3 or 4 days where I was just thinking about it all the time, and that created the core outline of the game. And then I just started writing it. Like as soon as the GM Companion was done, I started pouring tons and tons of energy into Shadow City, and it was just the muse. Like the Greeks talk about your muse as something that controls you. It's not something that you have as a benefit to you. The guy who is constantly painting, constantly sculpting, constantly working on a particular. He has to perfect the grapevine in his vineyard. Whatever it is, like it's something that's why they thought of them as gods. That like these gods just came down and grabbed a hold of you and made you do this stuff. And that's kind of how it was. Like I didn't have vampire on my bingo card when we went through New Year's Eve. I didn't even think about it. And then this year has come to be dominated by it because the muse just came out and said, "You're going to be writing this," and it just started pouring out of my head.
Yep. And if for those who are curious about how the city generation works, I recommend you go back and watch the past Sunday Parlor with Patty. We actually did that online. Me, Patty, and Wargod. Yep. Yeah, but that was actually pretty fun because you got to see, because you're rolling for like where everything is, and then you're rolling for also like the plot points, kind of basically that are
Yeah.
in each section as well, and that was really cool. Just trying to like, you just roll those up, and immediately like the ideas are coming to your head. As if, especially if you're the GM, this is like a perfect tool. Be like, okay, they rolled this. What happens in this area? How does it tie into what their characters are doing or what's going on and all that?
Yeah. Like one of the locations we rolled was a zoo.
Mm-hmm.
And there isn't a zoo in the sample city that's in the book. So I took note. I was like, oh, that's interesting. And the zoo, think about that as a locate. Like, there's some other vampire who already controls the zoo. So now we're gonna go. Like, you as players, you have no idea who that is, right? You don't know. Somebody else already controls that territory, and you have to kind of scout it out and not get eaten by whatever treacherous thing he has created to protect his territory. Maybe he's got great cats that he's fed blood and turned into ghouls and stuff.
I was just thinking Vam Tigers.
Yeah, like it could be anything. Like he could have all kinds of problems, and it just and then that's just reading 3 letters zoo. Do we have the equivalent of clans or factions? Yes and no. One, you don't have anything that I've built except for an example of what they are. There are tools in there for you to make your own clan or faction. The difference between a vampire faction being a clan and any other faction is just that it's an inherited thing. But what it is you have a shared talent, to use the Shadowdark language. You have a shared talent between everybody that's in the organization. So let's say that guy who controls the zoo, he is the leader of a clan, and their talent is that they have they've like infused their blood with something from the tiger, like you were saying, right? And so they have kind of like a camouflage effect in the way that their skin is modeled or something, so that they're harder to see on a stealth check, right? So the shared talent is that they have advantage on a stealth check. Every vampire that gets created by that clan gains that. Every ghoul that gets created by that clan gains that. Like, so it's an inheritable thing. The FBI agent might also have, everybody in the FBI has the same shared talent that gives them boosts in whatever you want to boost, but that's not inheritable. The FBI guy's kid doesn't get it, right? Unless they teach them how to be an FBI agent. But that's really the only substantive difference between how it works. I mean, it's just it's a shared talent that everybody in that group has, and you can form your own clans if your PCs all kind of work towards a shared thing. You say, we've been developing this particular thing, and we're gonna use it. Yeah, there you go. There's the pre-release copy.
Yep. 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 And you were saying earlier, actually on Sunday, that you could also, the vampires have the ability to make ghouls and thralls as well to serve under them.
Yes. So everybody that you create like that will be having, so all the downline will be connected to that same thing. And the more that you, these aren't hyperlinked, but if we go down to, well, wait, let me see if it's on this page.
That's fine.
I think it's in the politics one, which is at page 70.
Page 70. Okay. That's fine. No, busy. It doesn't take that. It's not that hard to type in numbers.
Yeah, so go to the next page. It's in this. I think it's in this section.
Violations, the Haven.
Well, maybe I'm wrong.
Apocalypse.
Let me pull up my own copy. I haven't had to actually
controlling territory.
What section it's in? Oh, it's on page 118. It's its own thing.
You're listening about factions here.
Yeah. So go to page 118, buddy.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah. So each faction has a set of beliefs that defines what they're, supposed to be doing, motivated by, and so on. This
Mhm.
is mostly for NPCs, but if you had somebody who was ostensibly a member of the police for some reason or whatever, like then that, like a ghoul, then they would be trying to at least live up to the beliefs of the faction. And then they'd have markings that identify them, like a uniform or some kind of a physical marker for a vampire clan, or maybe there's some kind of behavior that's the marking. So you don't know until the guy does a secret handshake, to be cliche, right? And then there's the
Yeah.
benefit. They all have goals and stuff like that. So these are just guidelines for creating one. But like I said, that isn't in there from the beginning. So the GM and the players would have to be the ones creating all this. So because of that, the GM and the players don't have to memorize anything ahead of time. Like you were saying earlier, like you don't want to have to read all this lore. It might be good to read from a fiction perspective, but you don't want to have to know it all in order to run the game.
I forget who. No, when I was listening to when Lord Mattias and Gary did their, it was actually a couple of weeks. It may have been before you or after you. I don't remember which, but they had Kyle. They had Kyle on. They had Eurodite DM on, and they had one more
Oh yeah,
person that was
when they
also
were doing their
on.
bad GMing advice episode.
Yeah, the bad GM device, and they were and one of the things they brought up that they talked a lot about was uh, prepping, over prepping or no prepping, basically for gaming.
Sure.
And I'm kind of in this weird kind of in between to where it's like I don't really prep a lot. Like if I have a module, it's just right there for me. But then there may be some stuff I kind of plan out ahead, but I don't do like world building kind of thing. I like Cyrus just said, you can really sink your teeth into this game.
Yeah. But yeah,
And that will kind of answer
the
Whelan's other question because he asked if there was a hunger mechanic or feeding.
Yeah, let me say what to yours for, like, the GM support makes it so that you can run this with almost no prep. The way that you could, a lot of us can just run, like a basic D&D chassis like Shadowdark or OSE or whatever with no prep, like just roll things, random encounters, random whatever, and just go with it, right? So to answer Waylon about the hunger, so you have blood points, and every character has a compulsion. If you go to page 41, is the compulsions. So the compulsion tells you,
All right, I'll pull that up.
Yeah, as you lose blood points, you become more like this, right? So let's say that it's defiance, the first one, right? So the lower your blood gets, the more stubborn and defiant and insistent on having things done your way that you become. And eventually you get to where you don't have enough, you're down so low you're having to make frenzy checks. And yeah, good to see you, Patty. And so when you make a frenzy check, which is I think on the other side of equipment here, if you just want to scroll down a few pages, when you make a frenzy check, if you fail it, you immediately just grab the nearest human and drink deep. See here you have frenzy. And so the DC for the frenzy check is 10 minus your level if things are okay. But anytime you're below half blood points, you have to make a frenzy check with the DC of 5 plus your cumulative total of blood points that you've spent that night. So if you've spent 8 to 10 blood points, you're going up against a big frenzy check. So the more blood you spend in a given night, the more and more likely it is that you're going to go into a frenzy. And then if you do, not only are you going to end up probably killing a person that you grabbed, but the next page, you can get a permanent derangement, like in a lot of vampire stuff. You're just permanently suffering from this affliction, and the only way to get rid of it is there's like a grinding mechanic similar to Shadowdark. So you have to spend like 3 months like working out how to get yourself out of this mental situation. And that means you aren't spending those 3 months learning lockpicking. You aren't spending those 3 months developing a new contact, finding a way to run a business better. You're not you're having to devote your time to self help. Like you're having to be like I'm screwed up. And yeah, are there blood dealers? There could be. I don't have anything in my stuff about blood dealers, but if I was
I'm
an
trying to remember.
NPC and I was sitting on a lot of blood because of my territory, you could see them bargaining it out. Yeah, I bet you could make it that way.
It was either a movie or a television show. I don't remember which, there was this show that it had vampires in it, but the local hospital, one of the nurses, one of the doctors there, actually provided like freshly drawn blood to give to the vampires, so they weren't out constantly just hunting down and killing people on accident.
Yeah. Well,
I wish I
the
remember what show that was.
one of the feeding habits is that the person prefers to drink from a bag rather than to actually take it from a live subject. And at first, that sounds good. Like, oh, okay, but that means if you run out of and you don't have any bags, you're in deep shit. You can't because you can't. It's going to be harder for you to feed on somebody that's alive rather than just drink out of a bag. So everything in this game, there's so many mechanics where two different desires are leveled against each other in tension. So, you want X, but in order to get X, you have to lose some of Y, and you also want Y. So there's this difficult dance of like, do I want to really move the needle this way or that way? It's a trade. Everything is a trade-off. And
Yeah.
so that's why these people are they're in a bind that everything that they want is set in opposition to them. Like they want to feed, but there's territory that human lives in somebody else's territory. If they feed on that human, then the guy who runs that territory is going to be mad at him, right? All these different things that are balanced against each other. So the GM doesn't really even have to create what we might call plot or goals for the play, because the players are going to have their own goal. They're going to create their own problems a lot of times. When I was GMing the playtest, I had to do very little prep aside from drawing up maps of locations that I thought that they were going to go. And the maps is super simple. I mean, like it's a node map with dots. It was not like I had to do a ton of work. Okay, Waylon. All right, Waylon was one of the skeptics.
Looks like we got someone else for the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
I did not link that in the description, which I should have done, but I actually have it pulled up. I will post the link in the chats. So that would be it.
Yeah, thank you for saying that, guys.
There we go.
Both of you. This was a lot of this was those days where I was just having it pour out of my head, and it was just like every time like one thing would come out, and I'd have like, okay, how am I going? Oh, I could create this other system in parallel with that would balance against it, and it just it's been a very interesting process.
Yeah.
Normally I don't write game mechanics this way. Like normally it's a theoretical thing. Like I think it would be best if the die mechanic worked like this. So I'm gonna modify some game that I'm already familiar with. It's like a house rule or whatever. But yeah, this game like burst out of my head.
Yeah. Is there a character sheet in this that you gave me? Because
Not
I also know you did a lot of you changed.
The character sheet has color on it, so I didn't put it as an interior. It's on the Kickstarter page. It'll be its own.
All right, let me pull that up.
Yeah.
Because you shared about this too, and Patty, you actually changed a lot of the wording for the stats and stuff just for this game. So Let me pull up the Kickstarter. Actually, have that. And everyone, you still got 5 days left, and it's wow. That's actually a lot more than I thought that it was last time I saw it. I feel like it just keeps going up every time I see this
I'm
page.
hoping to get to 10K. That would be great. There's a stretch goal at 10K.
Yep, here we go. So this is the character sheet.
Yep.
Got the Shadow City logo here, and of course, it changes. You change. So what exactly was the reasoning behind changing all the stats from the like the strength, dex, con, all that to what we have, what we see here?
And this is not a criticism of Shadowdark. This is a criticism of D&D going back to the beginning. I don't think mathematically it's balanced to have dexterity control both your defensive bonus and your attack bonus with ranged weapons. It's more tolerable when it's medieval fantasy and you really can't be using ranged weapons in a lot of situations. In modern times, when you're going to be dealing with tons of people carrying firearms in an American city with easily available ranged weapons all over the place, the idea that you would have the double up becomes much more mechanically problematic. So awareness is running all of the perception type stuff in the game, and that includes aiming. So when you make a ranged weapon attack, it's an awareness check to do that. But when you're looking at defensiveness and dodging and having kind of I use defense instead of AC for this because it's a modern game. The defense bonus coming off your quickness. It's not coming off of your awareness. So like, having those things on separate chassis, it really makes it so that you can have a more balanced you don't roll up a character and if they get 18 decks they're like freaking god, and if they have low charisma, you're it's no problem because I didn't really need charisma. All of these stats are needed, right? So willpower, you're running into a lot of entities, let's say, that are supernatural entities that are much stronger than you in some, like a werewolf is a level 10 monster. I mean, like it'll stomp you. If you try to resist the power of a supernatural creature, it's using willpower as the stat. So there wasn't that in the classic D&D. I mean, you could have attached it to like wisdom or something like that, but I really felt like it needed, resisting a vampire trying to control your mind should be a willpower set. It's not, it doesn't matter how wise you are. It matters how like resilient and tough your brain is. So magnetism is more like a charisma. A lot of this game is about influencing and controlling humans. And so having a good social ability is much more important than in a dungeon. And then physique is kind of strength and con put together. And cognition is a lot like intelligence, but all of the technology stuff runs on cognition. So if you want to use a computer, remember they're just barely getting out into the home at this point. You're looking at like if you'd be breaking into a business and working with mainframes and stuff, like big difficult computers, advanced electronics, any kind of technological device that's challenging. You need cognition in order to make it work. And there are 6 classes. Each one of them kind of has one of these is its main stat, kind of the way fighter is strength and thief is dex and so on. So it's I feel like it's much more balanced than the D&D stat distribution.
And I'm just also I'm just thinking. So even though I don't like World of Darkness that much, but the reason I love the Shadow City coming up for a lot of reasons, because one thing I've really learned over this, especially this recent year in playing a lot of these games, is I'm very much prefer like either that science gonzo fantasy or the urban fantasy. So anywhere from like the 80s, like maybe the early 2000s for a setting,
Yep.
urban fantasy wise, I really like to play with that. And another thing is, again, I'm actually able to play as the vampire, and this actually touches in on what my big issue it was with Vampire the Masquerade was. It didn't focus on you being the vampire enough. Whereas what you did in Shadow City, it's like, hey, it's like you're going out, you're trying to feed, something goes wrong, and
Yep.
now you got to figure out how you're going to deal with that. And
Yep.
and that incident may affect everything else that you're also trying to do at the same time, or it may putting into effect like the cop, like there may be a, because I was just thinking about like, because you were talking about like if because people always ask, are you going to do werewolves? Are you going to do the mages and all that? We talked about making Zines, but for a mage, just make a Shadowdark wizard and reflavor it to be like a modern day mage. Basically, you could just do that
All
right
right.
off the bat, and then so you have like now, because this I had this idea for a setting I wanted to do, is you have the city, and you have all your clans, like you have your werewolf clan, your vampire clan, your mage clan, your hunter clan, and they all have to coexist in the city in one way or form, and they're all supposed to be keeping each other in balance. Yeah, and like I was even about on Sunday, get Victor Gorchev's Blacklight, and you now have a team of basically SCP agents that once they get whiffed that there's vampires in the city, they're going to come in and try to take care of the problem, basically.
Yeah. One of the things I talked about with Dunder Moose and a little bit with Harmony Ginger was running it like a Bronstein, where you could
Mhm.
have players who were directly opposed to each other. So you make a 10 neighborhood city, and you give 2 neighborhoods to Marcus, you give 2 neighborhoods to Patty, you give 2 neighborhoods to Cyrus, you take 2 neighborhoods, and I take 2 neighborhoods, and then it's a matter of like who's gonna mess with who. Like a lot of board games where players are opposed.
Yeah.
You
Here,
know.
but no, I just thought this. Don't call it a Bronstein, a Bloodstain.
Yeah, sure, that'd be good. Marcus, feel free to push back a little bit. It's fine, man.
Yeah. Uh,
Nobody hurts my feelings. It's fine.
Patty did ask why
Yeah.
the '80s and not earlier or later.
The '80s is the apex of American culture, and um, I I think this is true in both individual people and in groups of people, that you define a lot of your own identity based on what you're opposed to what you're fighting against, right? And that in the 80s we were at our kind of, in a lot of ways we didn't even realize it, at our victory point over our great enemy, right? And so we were all, I mean, all these movies from the 80s, all this stuff, Red Dawn, where it's directly, impact on the Soviets, or like Iron Eagle, where they're fighting some rogue nation dictator, all these things where it's like, America is awesome, fuck yeah, and
Yeah.
that was how people felt. And then after the Cold War ended, like white blood cells that didn't have any more viruses to fight, we turned on ourselves, and we've been fighting ourselves for the past 30 years. So there's
Well,
there's just
it
a
was
lot
not
of
that.
decay in our culture.
It was
Because
not that way in the '90s, though. That's the one thing I think I will disagree with you on. Is the when the '90s came around, that was a lot of technological advances were coming in, because we were moving away from VHS, going to DVD. Computers were in their prime. The iPod, I remember when that got released, about late '90s, early 2000s. So there was a lot of stuff that happened between
okay,
the eight.
pull the book back up. Pull the book back up. I'll tell you what
Okay,
page to go to.
all right,
Page 136.
all right. Hold on, if I can hold on. It doesn't want to open up on me. Sometimes it'll show it on here, and sometimes it doesn't. So, oh, there it goes. 136, you said?
I think so. Yeah.
All
Yeah.
right.
136. Right. So there's a
Tech
timeline.
timeline.
Yeah, and it has everything that's coming out. Right. So we don't even have digital cameras until 1988. Right. You start getting into 94. You get PlayStation and plasma TVs, and that's when you get GeoCities accounts, right? People can start making their own web pages and shit. So you start to see, as we get further into the 90s, all of these technologies, they really fractured our cultural, like, I mean, think about like in the 1980s when a TV show came out, because of the limited amount of choice, everybody was watching the same TV shows and could talk about it with each other and felt like they had a shared culture. But when we started getting away from that and people started getting cable with tons and tons and tons of channels, and it became, people would be like, I haven't seen, um, I haven't seen the TV show that you're doing. I've been playing this video game, and you haven't been playing the video game. So we're on different wavelengths, right? So there's like a unity of purpose back in the 80s that just started to fracture. Yep. MySpace is there, 2003,
really quick.
the very bottom.
Yep, I was about to answer his question. Yep, there had been Blu-ray, MySpace, Game Boy Advance. That was my very first handheld system. So yeah, and
yeah. So
and I would to bite back at my ear trumpet really quick. I would say like the later 2000s before it got into 2010s was when the decline really happened.
Hey,
at least from my point of view, I didn't see as much that happened. At least during my time. But I'm still being a young kid, but I mean, I wasn't like completely ignorant of what was going on around me.
Yeah. But I just think like we can definitely see it now. Whatever the rate of change was, whatever the how long it took in a particular place, it might have been faster in a rural location or faster in an urban environment. I don't know. I'm not a expert on it, but there was definitely that effect. And so in the 80s, there's this incredible optimism. There's a feeling like technology is changing every day and you're getting new stuff. I mean, like, one of the things that I think people love about Stranger Things is the actual time period that it's set in. Like it has a unique mix of technologies and social connectivity that you don't get in earlier time periods, and it starts to fray in later time periods. So I just think the 80s is like this special golden period. Yeah. Yeah, I want to know what Waylon has got his criticism.
Yeah, I didn't want to interrupt you just to say anything. So that's why I typed it.
Yeah, I have no
because
fear.
I don't know. Yeah, but no, I just had this funny idea because, like, what do you believe caused the division? Cyrus, that's a whole other episode right there that I could get into about that. That
yeah.
I do not want to take away from Chubby Funster ShadowCity talk to just go into that discussion. That's going to be a whole other channel, at least, maybe. I want to see exactly what you meant by in Vampire you couldn't focus on. You couldn't. I believe my wording was you didn't focus on being a vampire enough. Like, I felt like it was more about like, oh, you're trying to figure out like what's going on with some other clan. You go here, you go there. And then it's like it was more the emotional aspect of being a vampire more than the conflict of being one. I guess in that regard, if that makes any sense at all, because it's like oh, you gotta go drink their blood, find a connection, do a roll, see if you go in or not. But with ShadowCity, I felt like Chubby, you really honed in on the consequences of what can happen if your blood feeding goes wrong. And then you made it like an active part of the character. Whereas I felt like with Vampire the Masquerade, it was like, oh, that happens, and then you just got to do a thing, and it goes away at some point.
Yeah. I don't know how well this is going to map over to Waylon's perspective. Let's put it that way. But when I've been involved in vampire games, and what the majority of people that I've talked to have told me is that they felt like it was kind of you're in a position that's very strong. You have a very, very tough physical form. You have very, very good resources. You have all kinds of things you can draw on to solve your problems. Powerful, really, really powerful abilities. Even a starting character, you can get. I'm pretty sure you can get 3 dots in the same discipline. Maybe it's just 2, but you can get some really powerful starting characters. and then you just keep getting better and better and better so fast that your vampire almost can just kind of pick their battles. Be like, I'm gonna move at my pace, and if I don't want to go deal with this problem right now, I won't deal with that problem. And you have just an incredible amount of strength. And in Shadow City, you can get killed by a shotgun blast if you're not careful. Somebody could just walk up, but one hit, bam, you're toast, because you can only soak so much at first level. And there's not timid, but like a hesitancy to, I don't want to get into situations where I'm gonna be in trouble. But then also there's like this D&D perspective of coming up with a strategy, like Cyrus said, like I'm going to deal with this problem in a very, very particular way. I'm going to think about it ahead of time, in the same way that like a lot of old school D&D play is, I'm not running in there. I could get killed if I run in there. I'm going to wait out here and I'm going to try to lure those people into a trap. I'm not going to run into, if you see a kobold and it runs away or turns around a corner, if you follow that kobold, you're an idiot. Like that, you're going to walk right into some poison dart trap and go down,
Yeah.
So there's kind of a caution, a temperance. But in Shadow City, there is also an incredible amount of pressure, right? Like you need blood or else you're going to die. You need territory or else you're going to die. The things that you need are resisted by multiple subsystems, so that you're not going to ever be like, I'm good to go on blood. I don't need it. I don't have any problem, right? You're always in this situation where it's just this relentless pressure on you. And I think a lot of that comes from me really liking the Alien role-playing game, which creates the same effect of just, you can't just sit around and wait, or the alien will just kill you, right? You'll be gone. And there's a pressure to survive. It's like an evolutionary pressure to keep moving, and I think that makes the game dynamic and keeps the players engaged.
All right, hold on. I need to do a check. Am I still here? It was roboting really bad on my end for like a
It
split
was
second.
looking weird for a second, yeah.
Crap. It's doing it again for some reason. Hold on a second. Sorry, folks. This happens. It's like, I'm 32 years old. I am divorced, and I live in a van down by the river. Okay, everyone can hear us at least. That's still good. It was just roboting out, so I only got like bits and pieces of what you were just saying earlier.
No worries. I heard everything I said.
So, I wanted to talk about this player mindset thing, because I think Patty brought that up a little bit on Sunday.
What is anything in particular? Crispy was also focused on this.
I mean, I guess just like what? What's the question? Crispy, that's who I was remembering. Crispy was one who was talking about, yeah, because he had a lot of stuff to say about it, most of it good, if I recall. Because that was an interesting conversation, because Crispy does a lot of that. He's a big believer in, I'm thinking, that 4D role-playing thing, which is still such a foreign concept to me at the same time. But, I mean, I've talked to Crispy before. Yeah, I've talked to Crispy before, and he's a good dude.
Yep, it was great talk.
Yep. Hold up. Now it's no longer roboting. It's just lagging now on my end. Stupid thing. Unless I don't need to do anything else. I think I may need to close some of this stuff on here, probably to. All right. Well, sorry about this, ladies and gents. Let me see.
So, what did you have a particular thing you wanted to go into
Oh,
about be the character. That was what Crispy was going at last night.
I. So, I guess talk to me about this because I meant to read this. And I'll be honest, I did not read as much as I wanted to because work week just kind of just kicked my butt,
No worries.
and
I
so I'm
know.
just kind of taking glimpses and reading through as I'm going on. But this just because this did catch my attention, I remembered Crispy talking about it. So I
Yeah,
guess
so I think
because
I'll just go while you figure some stuff out. So I've
the
presented this idea. It's actually in the
one
GM.
thing I don't.
I lost you there, but it's in the old school game mastering book that you were showing me before we went live. The I think that a role playing game should be approached like a sport. That there should be like a referee, and the referee's in charge of setting up the field, but the referee is not on anybody's side. They're not trying for a particular outcome. They're not working against any player. All they're doing is trying to adjudicate what the interaction is between people. And sometimes it's going to result in a loss for the players. Sometimes it's going to result in a victory for the players. Um, a lot of that should rest on the players, not the GM. So if the GM puts like a level 10 monster out against the level 1 party, then yeah, that's bad GMing. But as long as you have opportunities and things are described to you most of the time, if there's a level 10 monster and the GM broadcasts that it's a level 10 monster and is very, gives you signals that this is not something that you should mess with and you should run away, and you don't run away, then your death is on you. It's not the GM's job to bend the rules in order to make you win. And if you were playing a sport and you found out that the referee was rigging the game, even in your favor, it goes against the whole honor of the sport. That's the problem. Is the GM needs to be adjudicating things fairly for everybody so that they can be trusted to do what they're supposed to do. If the GM is rigging things, like I was talking about Gods of the Forbidden North earlier, like if I was making it so that it was cold, but they never really got in danger of freezing to death, and I didn't push the mechanics until they died. I just pushed them a little bit. Then they would know that they don't ever have to worry about freezing to death. But I made it very clear to them that if they fail enough of these checks, they're freezing to death and dying out in the snow. And so they were very concerned and wanted to get back to civilization. They have to know that I'm serious, that I'm going to adjudicate it serious, and see you guys run into the chat. But I think that's important. Like, approach it like a sport. You don't go out onto a sporting field and you go, all right, guys, let's tell the best story about this game. Like, no, you're trying to win the game. You're trying to defeat the other side. The referee is supposed to be fair in adjudicating the conflict between you and the other side, right? Those are important
Yeah.
parts.
So
Go ahead. You good now?
yeah, I think so. Am I coming through okay right now?
Yeah.
Okay, then let me try to get a point that I brought up because I just remembered this because this was something that because you brought up this kind of being more about putting it on the players more than the GM, and one of the things that I've been kind of a big component for, and Kyle's brought this up too, is the lack of GM agency that happens to a lot of these games now. So to me, whenever I hear, "Oh, your players get to take it all on" for the most part, to me it sounds like oh, the players have control. GM is just there to be there, basically. Now I could be totally misinterpreting that, and I will.
Yeah. So, like,
Yeah.
when I mean it's on the players, it's that the players have needs that they need to satisfy. In just looking at classic D&D, even though your character might have 5 gold pieces and you can live at the tavern for a couple weeks, eventually you'll run out of gold pieces and you will die. So you need to get gold so that you can pay for things and live. That we don't all go to work every day because of the fun of it, right? We go to work because we need the money in order to live. Like, so the players need to have their own pressing demands, and they try to go out into the world and solve those demands. And having random encounter tables, having random determination of NPC design, all that stuff makes it so that if the players go, well, my way of satisfying my needs is I'm going to go try to steal from a hospital, right? If the GM doesn't have a hospital prepared, then now the GM has to invent all that on the fly. So when I say it's GM support, the GM support is the GM just flips over to the page and makes a few rolls, and now he has a hospital, right? He doesn't need to have made the hospital ahead of time, knowing that the players were going to choose to go to a hospital. So by making the GM able to pivot back and forth however he needs to any solution, he's reacting to the players. He's part of the game, right? He's his own special kind of player, but he's not trying to kill them. He's also not trying to get them to follow the story along so he can he can get the big bad guy to come up and deliver his monologue that he wrote, and he's got a 2-page monologue about this and that, and nobody wants that shit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the GM has their own role in the game, like a player. Like when the players say this is what we want to do, the GM creates that space, creates whatever the opposition is in that space, and then runs it, adjudicated as fair as possible. The GM doesn't have any other NPCs that's like their favorite guy who needs to survive, who needs to live. Like how many times have we seen where I've seen this in written modules a lot, and at the table, where the GM is given a character and they're like, okay, if the guy gets low on health, he's got all these special abilities to escape. So then the players have to keep hunting his ass down over and over again, and it's super hard to just kill this one guy. I have no problem with just letting the players kill that guy, and then we move on to the next guy. Like, it's not like, oh, the game's over now. They killed the necromancer, so there's no more problems on Earth. There's other things for them to deal with. And so I encourage the GM in ShadowCity and in every game, really, to create things, not get attached to them, and just let the players smash it up. I never thought I'd be citing this as a source, but Lego Movie has a really great dynamic where the dad, he wants the Legos to be a certain way, and he's pissed off that the kids keep coming down to the Lego basement and messing up his great, perfect Lego town, right? And from the kid's perspective, he seems like a tyrant, right? Why won't he let us do the things that we want to do, right? And I think a lot of GMs get suckered into being that tyrant, and they're trying to make the game a particular way. And sometimes the way may be by being too nice. They are so invested in the players surviving that they break the rules in the players' favor. All sorts of errors like that, in my view. The GM should not want the players to live or die any more than the other. Like, if my whole party in Gods of the Forbidden North they just kept going and going, and then they all froze to death, I would have laughed, and I would have said, roll up your next set of characters. There's no problem.
Yeah, it's like I always say, I don't want to TPK the party.
Yeah, I don't want.
But that doesn't mean you're not gonna. But that doesn't mean you're not gonna face any challenges to where you're going to be like knocking on death's door.
Yeah, I don't want them to just wander around and freeze to death. But if that's the path that they choose,
yeah, I say that having bought this to run tomorrow. But I mean, this is kind of the point was because I don't know if you ever heard. there's this podcast I love listening to. It's called When We're Wizards. It talks about kind of the rise and fall of Gary
I've
Gygax
heard
and
of it,
TS. It's about the rise and fall of Gary Gygax and TSR, and they actually bring up this module, and they said it there. And my buddy Matthew also mentioned it when he was on the show too. Was when Gary Gygax was running this module for people for all his high level characters, if they died, Gary Gygax would have them hand them their character sheet, and he would just fold it up and put it in his pocket.
yeah. I love. I got to GM or I got to play with Greg Gillespie as the GM at North Texas, and he gives you a death certificate when you die. Yeah.
Matthew just got he got a death certificate stamp for the character
Yeah.
sheets if you die in his in-person games.
Well, because I have a clean conscience when I kill them because they know the game. They know that going into it that there are hard rules, and if they get to a certain position mathematically, they will die. In the same way that, like, if I play chess with somebody, if they take down my king or put me in checkmate, like, it's over. I lose. If every time I checkmated my kid that I was teaching how to play chess, I would just be like, okay, well, I'm going to let you somehow not die from being checkmated, and we're going to keep going. Like, we're not playing chess anymore. Like, it's not mean for me to beat someone at chess. Like I followed the rules. I won. They lost. That's it. Now it's on them to get better at chess. It's not on me to bend the rules so that next time they'll win. Yeah, exactly. If he dies, he dies. Yeah, I mean, we're not talking about real people here. We're not talking about, it's not like my little dog's going to get smushed if I don't fudge this roll. I mean, like, this is a game. I don't care.
I like to stuff like that. I quote from the Pharaoh from the original, the Moses movie. So let it be written, so let it be done.
I used to play. It's in the. I think they're about to do a fifth one now. Europa Universalis. And I remember a meme back when I was in my 20s, early days of meme. This is back in like the Badger Mushroom days, and there was a meme where there's this little sprite in the game, and it's a guy holding a pole arm, and he just has like this animation where he just stabs the other guy with the pole arm, and it's like 80,000 people die, 40,000 people die. Like each round that it's like doing a round by round war game calculation. It's like, there went 20,000 people, there went 30,000 people. So it's like, who cares if nobody cares about that? But if one dude that you have some kind of emotional connection to dies in the game, then you're like, oh my God, this one guy died. It's like, I killed 400,000 people in the Napoleonic Wars. Why would I care about killing this one dude?
Yeah. That just makes it funny because I was playing I was in a GM-less game of Barrows of Borderlands. It was me, Foxoff, and a new guy that just joined the server. And we were like, hey, I'm kind of not doing anything. I'm bored. This was last week, if I recall. Yeah, this was last week. And I was just like, are there any referees available? And all the referees was like, sorry, we're not really available right now. And I asked the other guys, I have this solo toolkit that basically can let you play without GM. Would you guys just want to do a group GM-less game? And they were like, yeah, let's try that. Cool. And so we started off. We did an oops all clerics basically. So we were all different forms of clerics in the game. There was my halfling cleric, a dwarf cleric, and a gray alien cleric. Like literally, like tall, gray skin, big black guy alien cleric.
Sectoid.
Yeah, I think they're just called the Greys. I think in Barrows and Borderlands, it's one of the optional extra races you can be. And so we're just like our gods have brought us together. Let us travel. And so we're all just walking through the Borderlands, because it's basically Barrows of Borderlands kind of plays on the Keep on the Borderlands setting for it as well. He just can't call it the Keep on the Borderlands. He calls it the Borderland Keep, just to kind of be like try to differentiate it.
I've made distinctions like that myself. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, Shadow Rim.
Yeah, exactly.
And so we end up going to the mountains. And we end up when we on one of the mountain hexes we go into, we land an encounter. And we rolled up a Hydra of all things. And fortunately, the hex we're in, there was a body of water that was inside that hex. So we rolled an 8-headed Hydra, which came out. We tried to outrun it. It was faster. So we had tried to fight it off. The alien cleric got eaten completely. And then my halfling cleric and then the dwarf cleric, we got knocked unconscious. But the Hydra said, "I'm done eating for the day," and left us basically because we were rolling for like reactions and stuff too.
Yep.
And so in Barrels of Borderlands, you're unconscious when you hit 0, but it's not until you hit -10 when you die. So this one uses the negative HP counter.
Yep.
And so then we decided, well, it was still like midday, so we roll an evening encounter, roll up it says we roll up hyena men, basically gnolls. And it says that you roll up 20 to 200 of them, and we rolled up 170. So an entire tribe of hyena men come down from the mountains that we just said, oh, they have beef with this Hydra. They're going to come kill this Hydra. And they come across the dwarf and the halfling clerics. And, of course, it says if you have more than 100, you have, like, a chieftain and his guards. So they bind us up, heal us, like, back to the minimum, and then just wake us up and start questioning us. And there's only, like, one shaman hyena with broken common that is able to communicate with us. And so when we can start playing again, because it's just me and Foxoff, the other guy can't make it, because we're going to have a mass combat session now with all the hyena men, and it's what's going to be the now 9-headed Hydra, because we took out one of its heads before it left, but we didn't burn it. We didn't sear off where he punched off the head. So that's good. So it goes going to be 800 to 900, and so not 800 heads, 8 heads to 9 heads.
Yeah.
So it's gonna. And so right now, because we have these magical powers that we showed off to the gnolls, to be like, yes, we have powers. We can defeat this thing if we actually were able to. So now we went. So the whole gnoll tribe took us to their cavern area that they're holed up in, and that's where our characters are right now. And we're like playing like, okay, how are we gonna get this Hydra?
You just
basically
got picked up by Ewoks and taken back to the Ewok village on a stick, huh?
Yeah. So
you might not make it, but yeah, I mean, like, if they die, that okay.
Yeah.
So what? Like, I don't understand why people get so into it. I'm at the point now. See you, Marcus. Yep. Where I'll just take whatever random, like, if there's a random character generator for whatever the game is, I'll just take a random character. Like, I don't care. OSC character? Yeah, give me a random OSC character. Give me a random Shadowdark character. And I'll just play whatever it is. 3 intelligence? I don't give a shit. Let's go. Let's do it. Yeah.
I always like rolling my characters, and because it's an OE game, I stay true to like the 3d6 down the line thing, unless Matt says otherwise. Like for my solo game I'm doing with my Mecha Ronin Samurai bot, it was 4d6, drop low, assign as I want, and I got to increase some levels. But then I got my ass kicked by some other aliens, but I was able. But the chart. My solo chart was thankfully kind enough to say, "Oh, the aliens take you to this organization. They repair you, give you some upgrades." And I said, narratively, I'm going to level this character up because I still want to play a little longer with this dude, and plus, I want to actually be able to fight these guys next time if I have to fight. So, but if it happens the second time, I'm not going to push my luck like that again. I just figured it was only the second session. It's like I wanted to keep going a little bit longer just to kind of show off the game. So, narratively, he went from being a level 3 character to like a level 5 character. Basically, he just got like a full like body upgrade, like new parts, new armor, and all that kind of stuff that's built into him. That kind of jazz.
What do they
So
want in exchange for those new parts?
that's what I'm going to be rolling up for when I do play next session because we do 1-to-1 time, and so basically he got down to -13. So for 2 weeks they were repairing him.
Yeah.
And actually today would have marked the end of that 2 weeks. So probably sometime this weekend or next week is going to be when I will do solo session number 3 to be where there's actually there's actually a very important man that's listed in the book that actually oversaw. It's actually funny because when the whole idea of the Mecharon, so not to go off topic too much here, but when the whole idea of the Mecharon class got brought up, immediately I started thinking about Afro Samurai. So the robot's name is Afro, which stands for Aggressive Frontline Robotic Operative.
Well, see, I'm thinking Red Dead Redemption right now. Red Dead 1, where he gets shot and at the very beginning, and he's taken care of by the people on the farmstead.
Oh yeah,
And then it's like, so if that was me GMing that, I'd just be like, okay, you're waiting. They've got things they need you to do. All these things they need done around like, you know, they've been missing a guy with your skills. Come on, here you go. You can solve all these problems for them, and rope it in that way. And it is what it is.
yeah.
I was gonna say my son. This is a solo game, but well, solo in the sense of him and I'm the GM and he's the only player. I
Yeah, it's
guess
like a 1v1
not
kind
too
of
solo
thing.
game. But he was playing in AX1, the first Adventure Conquer King module, the cursed something of Zakara. I forget the exact name. Staff, I think it is,
Hmm.
and he's going to the dungeon location, and it's woodland hexes, and he had a party of 5 characters that were his, and we rolled a 99, I think it was, on the encounter table, and it was a green dragon.
Oh no.
Now it wasn't an adult, but it was like way better than first level characters,
So
and so he just scattered, and we rolled a dice, and the dragon went after one of them, and that guy died. Like, that was it. Like, if that had been a player character, I would have said the same thing. Like, which one? What are you guys doing? And if they all ran in different directions, I would have just been like, all right, we're going to roll randomly, and he's going after you. And then the other guys got away. They got back to town. But one first level character versus a green dragon, no contest.
the this actually happened during the very first session. Was I rolled up a young brass dragon for one of the encounters, and for in B&B, they can do fear or sleep gas. And the first round did fear gas. I succeeded the save. Then I decided to do sleep gas, which I failed. And of course, like I'm like a Megaron, like if the Megaron hits, it's nothing to mess around with, especially if you got a two-handed weapon deals more damage. And so the young dragon knocked me out with the sleep gas and ran off back to Mama. And the charge rolled up at the end of the session. Mama's pissed and is on the hunt now for
Yeah.
whoever tried to attack her baby. So now, so while this is happening with my guy, there's this Mama Brass Dragon still flying around the Borderlands right now, trying to find who messed with her.
Yeah, I think that's good. I think it's really good for players to know that there are big things out there in the world that will eat them. Um, and this is especially true in medieval fantasy when there's so many non-human humanoids that are willing to murder people at all. It's a terrible, bloody, brutal world. The idea that you could just dance around and never run into problems, I mean, no way. These people get hosed. A lot of times I think there's almost too much civilization in medieval fantasy, because if you really had dragons stomping around eating people, like, it'd be hard to build up to a 20,000 person city. Um, it's the dragons would tear that shit up, you know. Uh, I remember how interesting it was in that movie from the 90s, I think, Reign of Fire, with Matthew McConaughey and
Christian Bale, I saw that because
yeah.
what one thing Matthew does is he plays like the movies that inspired his game. So that was that was when I watched Vampire Hunter D for the first time, Reign of Fire for the first time. Kroll I watched on my own, but that was on Tubi too, and I ended up watching that because he talked about it. So they do all sorts of. There was another old school. Oh, I'll have to ask her what it was, but it was like this weird, like it was live action mixed with like the puppets and stuff kind of deal. So a lot of those kind of like got science mixed with the fantasy, the Gonzo fantasy type movies really inspired his gameplay.
I think it's really cool, but you have to be consistent in the
Hmm.
application of the world. You know, if there are really dragons that are going around and they could just stomp people, then that means that certain territories you're just not going into. Like people are not going into these areas because of elves or dragons or hobgoblins or whatever it is. Like the same reason why French people aren't just walking across the border into Spain when they're at war. You know, like just like, oh well, I'm just gonna go visit Spain right now. Like, no, that's not how it works. If you're at active violence level, you're not crossing over in the border and taking a little walk on the other territory, and so there'd be a lot more pressure. There's a lot of things that I think can be done better in medieval fantasy, but
Yeah,
we don't need to get deep into the weeds any more than we already
yeah,
are.
yeah. But I think that's kind of why I started trying to lean towards like games that either are focused more on like science fantasy or urban fantasy. Because the medieval fantasy, I don't have issues with it. It is just so overdone now at this point with a lot of games because that's usually because I love Skyrim. I would consider that medieval fantasy.
Yep.
Let me think. What else I got? Horde Wars, one of my other favorite games I play. Medieval fantasy. Dragonbane medieval fantasy, basically. Unless you want to make an exception for that because it's got duck people. You make Darkwing Duck into a fantasy thief, basically. And so, but some of the stuff you brought up again, kind of tying back to Shadow City, because again, you're not because like you say, like you're not just going over to the Borderlands to go fight the dragon. You're taking as a precaution what's out there, and you're trying to avoid it, or you try to figure something else out. You're like in Shadow City, you're not just going out and sucking dry whoever you come across. You got to be, depending on who you are, you got to be thoughtful about it. You got to figure out the best approach for it. It's like, are you just going to pick off some homeless bum off the street who may have tainted blood that's going to ruin you? Do you make some sort of friendship with the doctor at the clinic who does like monthly blood draws? See if you can get some from her or him. Or are you just going to be like, what's that? What's the one race that everyone likes to play that's just like the most violent one in Vampire the Masquerade? It's like
Bruja.
the Bruja, yeah. Where you
Yeah.
just go out and you just suck anyone
Hot-blooded.
dry
Yeah.
regardless, yeah.
Yeah. I think there's with the territory mechanic that's in Shadow City, the the tendency to do things that are dumb drops significantly, and instead you become much more of a scrounger. Now I'm sure that there are going to be hot-headed players that go around and do dumb stuff, but just like if you walk into Waterdeep and start pushing people around, like you're going to have problems really quick. It's not a place where you're not the biggest fish in the pond, and the same kind of thing here. Like the more you make it clear to the players that they are not the top dogs and that there are bigger things that can come up and destroy them. I mean, I think when you're a
Yeah.
level one character, I mean, just level three, level four monsters are badass to your power level. Um,
Um,
yeah, honestly, to me, there are a lot of vampire movies that I like. Probably Blade is my favorite set of vampire movies, even though it's not focused on the vampire side of it. But I watch a vampire movie and I might like it, but it's kind of like I watch post-apocalypse movies and I like them. But I played 600 hours of Fallout 4. I've played 300 hours of Fallout New Vegas. Like I've played these video games so long, so much intense world building in the video game that a lot of times the way that I think about the world is the fiction of a game like Vampire Bloodlines is the fiction of a game like Vampire with the YR. If you've ever played that on PC,
yeah.
some of these games, yeah, if you're watching a movie for 2 hours, right? You play a video game for 40 to 100 to 200 hours. Like it really gets in your head about how you think about these settings, and I love how video games let you do that. And so for me, I think the reason why Blade resonates with me so much is because he's somebody that the vampires are actually afraid of. And in most vampire movies, the only thing vampires are afraid of is other vampires. There's no, oh yeah, maybe in Underworld. I love Underworld too. They're afraid of the werewolves, but
Hmm.
they're arrogantly even think like they act as if the werewolves are inferior. Like, but when Blade comes in, the vampire is scared. Like, Blade is going to kill him. Uh,
Hmm.
there's that fear. I like the situation where there's always a bigger fish that's more powerful than you, and somebody gets punished for being too arrogant or too much. Even like you look at like stuff like Sopranos or Breaking Bad or anything like that. Like as badass as any one individual dude is, there's organizations and other more powerful people. You might be a really awesome badass, but there's some assassin who can come up and take you out. It doesn't matter. Like I don't want anybody to be on their laurels. I'm so powerful, nobody can fuck with me.
Yeah. So I think we're probably going to wrap this up here, but I'm definitely looking forward to Shadow City coming out. I'm glad to see that other people are looking forward to getting Shadow City as well. I'm sorry, I have been up since 3 o'clock this morning and I am exhausted, so I apologize
No
for the
worries,
constant
I know
yawning.
how
So,
it is.
so, so I guess kind of a quick synopsis. Why should people get Shadow City?
Shadow City lets you have a vampire experience that is categorically different from the previous experiences you've ever had with vampire. It plays in a totally different way. You will find interactions that you just have not had before. You'll have dynamics that you've never been in before. It just gives you a new, unique way of actually experiencing things at the table. In the same way that, like, if you only ever played fourth edition and you sat down with Shadowdark, it would give you a totally different experience. That's just what I'm going for. I'm looking for a gameplay experience at the table that is very different. That is, Shadowdark has kind of a sine wave loop I've described where you gain strength and then the carousing mechanics and other things drain you of that wealth and you get XP and then you go back and so you're even when you're level 5 or 6 in Shadowdark you're like right about to die. A monster could kill you at any second, and I like that experience. I like it being like, I'm strong, but I'm also vulnerable to all of these things, and I need to be smart about what I do. I don't like game like when you're at level 19 in third edition D&D and you're just a god. Like you could just destroy whole countries. I want you to always be under that. The most powerful vampire in the world cannot take on one apartment building in New York worth of people. I mean, like they just overwhelm you. As strong as you are, they could take you down. So you need to play it. You need to stay secret. You need to be hiding from these people. You're a parasite in that sense. Yeah, the tapeworm in your stomach doesn't make itself known to you. It doesn't want you to know that it's there sucking up your nutrients. So it's a very different experience. It's a different experience from Shadowdark. It's a different experience from Vampire. I think it's just a unique thing, and I want everybody to get a chance to experience it.
Yeah. I was also just looking because the last time I saw you on here, we were talking about the shadow darkening of the hobby because that was the topic at the time,
Yep.
and that was like almost a year ago now that we had that discussion. Was when you were
That was
last on
back when
this
I had a
channel.
really
So
terrible webcam.
yeah, and I think you may had just released Shadowrim at the time. I think, or it was
I
about
think
to be
so,
out.
yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, Terra Invictus wasn't even out yet when we were having that conversation. So it's just funny to see how much more Shadowdark has now come with Western Reaches on the way, and then another buddy I follow, he goes by Runeforged. He does a lot of different review stuff.
I'm actually going to be on live stream with him in a few days.
Yeah, well, he just released an entire like Shadowdark template that people can use to make it in Google Docs now, and like make your cover in Canva too. And for me especially, that was like a godsend because I'm like, I would love to be able to make my own book. I hate these how many things that require subscription services now. So I don't have Adobe subscription, I don't have Affinity subscription. No way I could afford all of those. Google Doc is always free though. Unless you want something like super crazy with it, which you don't even need half the time. So the fact that I now have the thing that can make that I can now use to make the Shadow Dark game supplements that I've been thinking about, because I'm literally thinking about I want to take my Richard Dixie and I want to make Dixie Dark. I'm calling it currently. So where
Awesome.
yeah, so where it's just going to be, it's like fighting the Civil War with Shadow Dark rules, basically, is the idea I'm
See
working
you
on.
later, Harmony.
All right. Yep. Have a good night, Harmony. We're about to head out here too momentarily. So,
Yeah.
but
Ultra has
yes,
to get his beauty rest.
yeah. Well, I'm probably still going to be up for a little bit because I may or may not watch Lord Madness's second watch, because I will always like to watch half of it and then go to sleep later after that. So,
It's rough. It's 1 a.m. for me when it's over.
jeez,
Um,
it's usually like a little after midnight for me if I stay up, because I last Friday they had Matthew on and I like sat up through the whole thing, but I was watching like, because last night no I was watching like you with Crispy, and I was also watching yeah, because Matthew was on Dungeon Delver's show last night too. So I had you on I had you on my phone, Delver on the computer. So I was like,
did
what?
you see my Matt Colville impression at the end?
I did not see that. No,
Watch, go to like the last 5 minutes of the Crispy one, and he asked me if there was anything else that I wanted to say as like a closing thought, and I switched up to a picture of Matt Colville as my avatar, and then I started using, I mean, a very poor impression of him, but using like a contrived voice to talk about metagaming, because the stream before that, Crispy had just been driven insane by Matt Colville in his live play doing obviously metagame behavior, and then going, but we're not metagaming here at all. And Crispy's like, oh, you are definitely metagaming. You know, like, what the fuck are you talking about? And so, yeah, check it out. It was. I wanted to surprise him, so I didn't tell him I was going to do it or anything. I just flipped on the avatar and just started talking. And oh, it was great.
yeah, I just like Diversity Dragons when he does his intro clip for his Wednesday show. There's one of Matt Colville just going, a giant penis. And that's all he says. I don't know the context of it. It's just funny and I laugh at it every
Gotta
time.
put the
So,
hot sauce
yeah.
on the taco, man.
You know what I'm saying? Scott Carabay, Lord. Oh, the content creators and the other reviewer people I could talk about, that's a whole other video too. So there's some crazies out there. And then and then the I'm not even no, I'm not going to bring that up because that's already been talked about enough on X. So I'm not even going to bother. This is your show. We're here to talk about your game, and it's like you don't have to leave, everyone, but you can't stay here. Basically, is what we're getting to now. So, Chubby, thank you for coming back on again. It's like I always enjoy talking to you.
Thanks,
Again,
buddy.
love all your games. I need to start doing more stuff with them because I know I haven't done enough. So I look forward to now adding
Let me
to
know
the
if I can
collection
help
even
you with
further.
anything.
Yeah. Well, it's not that I need you to help me with anything. It's like I just need to like take the initiative and be like, I have this, and I need to run something because I was wanting to do some solo stuff with this for a while, and then they got back shelved just with time and all that. So and then I was actually trying to run a campaign, and then everyone just couldn't make it. So it's hard to keep a group sometimes. It's some depending on the
I
day.
know how
So
it is. My time budget is brutal. Yeah.
yep. So everyone, hope you all have a wonderful weekend coming up. Play some gaming. If you want to find something else to watch once we're done here, right now you can't find them on Rumble. You can have to go to YouTube. Dundermoose is currently doing a video about the Living Campaign in regards to solo gaming, and then Dungeon Delver is doing his Friday Gamer World campaign that he does right now. They do first edition Gamer World, if I recall, which is another game I need to explore because I own that too. So. But yep. So thank you again,
Thanks
everyone,
for coming, everybody.
Yep. Have a good weekend, everyone.